Let's look at the other idea of similarity. It's called homology. Homology is the idea that if you look at certain structures, you'll see that they resemble one another in man as well as in animals. And the one that we often see in textbooks is if we look at our arm. Our arm has a basic design of a bony pattern. We have one bone in the upper arm, a couple of bones in our forearms, a series of bones in our wrists, and that radiates into our digits. If you compare that structure with that of a leg of a dog, a leg of a horse, wing of a bat or bird, it looks very similar, doesn't it? But there's some modifications there. Now, you know, we talked about the ultimate academic mystery. Two scientists look at the same information, yet come up with two entirely different conclusions. What happens when an evolutionary scientist looks at this? He says, well, the reason why there is shared characteristics, why there's similar structures, is because they have a common ancestor. All right? Now, what happens when a creation scientist looks at this? He says, well, the reason why there's similarities in basic design there is because of a common designer, not a common ancestor. Well, wait a second. How in the world can we determine which one of these are right? Because when we're looking at these structures, we're not seeing them forming before our eyes, do we? We see the finished end products right now. Well, if evolution's true, we should see some supporting evidence that this came from a common ancestor. And the two things we really should see is common genes will encode for common structures, and they should develop through a common way of embryology. Now, what am I talking about there? Think for just a moment if you're at home and you've got two neighbors. You have the Joneses who live over here, you have the Smiths who live over here. Both of them are comprised of a mom and dad and two kids. The likelihood is the two kids over here, for the Joneses, are going to look like each other and resemble their parents because of a common genetics, right? If you look at the Smiths over here, the same situation. The kids will look similar to each other, look similar to their parents. Common genes, common similarity. So we do see a logic based on this evolutionary interpretation that similar genes of the Jones and the Smith family will produce similar offspring for their kids, where the kids will resemble their parents. However, when we're looking at homologous structures, this whole idea, the arm of man, the leg of a horse and dog, the wing of a bird and bat, even though there are similarities superficially, we do not see that translates back to the same genes to make those structures or the same embryonic path for their development. Dr. Michael Denton wrote this in his book, Evolution, a Theory in Crisis. He's talking about homology, and the fields of science from the standpoint of genetics and embryology have said just the opposite of what the prediction has been, that this would be proof for evolution. He says it's become clear that this principle cannot be extended in the same way. Homologous structures are often specified by non-homologous genetic systems, and the concept of homology can seldom be extended back into embryology. So although they look similar on the outside, we see not a common set of genes or a common set of embryonic development to produce these same structures, which totally breaks down this whole argument of a common ancestor. See, similarities in the present do not prove past origin.